Austin Courthouse. We have Commissioner Waits and Commissioner Clark present, Commissioner Sparks on the phone. All times of the agenda are approximate. Consideration of items may require more or less time than is scheduled. Items on the agenda may be taken out of order. The public body may combine two or more agenda items for consideration, and the public body may remove an item from the agenda or delay discussion relating to an item on the agenda at any time. Public comment is designated for discussion only. The public has an opportunity to address the commission on any matter not appearing on the agenda. However, no action may be taken on any matter raised until the matter itself has been specifically included in the agenda as an item upon which action may be taken. Additionally, public comment may be heard on any item listed on the agenda. Persons are invited to submit comments in writing or attend and make comments on any agenda item at the Health Board meeting. And public comment may be limited to 3 minutes per person at the discretion of the commission. Patsy, you want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you. Yes, please join me in the salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I have a moment of silence, please. Lander County Commission may break for lunch from 12 p.m. to 1:15 p.m. Any agenda item may be taken out of order, may be combined for consideration by the public body, and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda. Commissioners' reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended. Patsy?
Thank you. Yes, we did have our annual state NACO meeting. That was the November 17th, 18th, and 19th. We did it all, of course, on computer, and a new program, which was kind of interesting. They opened it up to the different panels so that we could all speak, but everyone else could only text in and use the chat line. And it went very well for what we had to do. We just missed being together. There was some excellent programs that we actually did. The presentations and educational sessions are on the NACO website and on YouTube. A couple of them of particularly good interest was the changing landscape of public lands management. And then, of course, we did a training for the newly elected county commissioners, and we have a brand new handbook that's been updated with all of the last legislative things that apply to our county. So those are going out to the new commissioners. On the 19th, we did have the Kingston Town Board meeting. They always do a big afternoon with Santa, and of course that's not really possible this year, so they collected the gifts and all, but they're going to have Santa in the fire truck, and he's going to go out and deliver personally to the children that have put their names in. So they're still continuing with that. On the 27th, we did have our official Hallmark moment with the Christmas tree lighting in Austin, and s'mores, and our fire pits, and our heating patio lights, which were wonderful. It was very well attended, and a lot of people in their cars, and it was exciting. The tree truly is beautiful, so our thank yous to Lander County for the tree and all the work that Road and Bridge did to make that all come through and happen. And of course, Ormont stepped up to actually pay for the fire pits and the patio lights. On the 30th of November, I had an AT&T conference call, and this is regarding the provider of last resort letter that we wrote to the Public Utilities Commission because they want to pull out of the rest of the county. And in response to that letter, they actually asked for a phone call. So we did a conference phone call, which was kind of interesting. It was just kind of reiteration of our letter, because we did not only our letter, but a backup letter too, I don't know whether it's gonna make any difference, but it stays in the AT&T file, and they said, well, it won't make any difference if we pull out of these areas where no one lives, and we said, we're talking future growth, we're talking our public lands that we're gonna have a lot of, you never know, it's gonna be growth, and we never know where people live that might have asked for a service that didn't get it. And they said, well, it's not gonna make any difference, and we said, well, if it's not gonna make any difference, why are you pulling out? Why don't you just leave Lander County the way it is? But, it was nice to at least be on the phone call and at least get some recognition, but, I have no idea what they're gonna do about that, of course. Yesterday I did have a Justice and Public Safety meeting, that's, our national board. Most of their information was actually regarding COVID and the billions of dollars that they're putting through the different legislative groups now, our Assembly and Senate, and where it's gonna be, but it's all kind of up in arms of everyone arguing over the amount, so we're not sure about that yet, and that's my report, thank you.
Yeah, I didn't go to any meetings, I didn't have any meetings.
Brian?
Brian?
Yeah, no report, Art.
Okay. Okay, public comment for non-agendized. Oh, Bert, I'm sorry, Bert.
Good morning, Commission. So for my report on the RS 2477 roads, I just want to make sure that we keep touching base so you guys know that we aren't dropping the ball. And if I am dropping the ball on anything, please remind me. So at the NACO conference in one of the classes, Commissioner from Elko County had made mention that there was possibly a bill draft to give all the land back to the counties and go completely away from the government, and that's a bill that's on the table, but it is sitting, waiting to see who takes a house and where all that kind of idles out. So with that, we're kind of sitting in idle on the 2477 roads unless this commission chooses to give me some different direction, but I don't think that we should put a lot of energy into it with that possibly being on the table. The other thing, and I'll bring a bunch more information on that as I get more of it. I'd reached out to the Elko County manager, and he had a lot more information because I guess this has been going on for quite a while, but I wasn't aware of it, and I don't know that our board was aware of it.
Here, but you haven't always been here way before you became county manager.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and President Trump was really pushing for that, actually. So if we go back through some of the records on our reports, we have been following it, but like the public lands, it's all held out. Thank you.
Okay.
I completely forgot that this morning. Thanks.
Well, so I wanted to touch on that. As far as the wildlife board, we did a little bit of research. What we're going to probably end up having to do is have them convene and then send their chair or a member of the board to report to this commission. And as what we're going to try to do is I need to reach out to the conservation district. I'm going to try to make this kind of a county-wide, anybody that has any interest in wildlife conservation, anything to do with the betterment of the county, make this a whole group effort where we're combined to make a good decision for all parties involved. But they will probably, both boards will have to have their own meetings and then send a representative of their boards to the commission here to open that discussion. Hopefully we can get that on the 17th meeting. I'm going to see where this falls with the rest of the boards, and it may not work out, and then again it may, but all that's still moving forward as well. On COVID-19, so to date we have 242 confirmed cases in Lander County. 56 of them are active right now, and 182 of them have recovered. I want to say a big thanks to the hospital. Jason and Holly at the hospital have done all of the work on putting together the vaccination plan. They reached out to the sheriff's office, and they've reached out to the fire department and everybody, the first responders that will get this vaccine. According to the governor last night, it could be within 2 weeks that they're going to be handing out these vaccines. It's a 2-tier vaccine. So there's one shot, and then 20 days later, you get your next shot. The issue with that is a little bit of a scheduling issue for departments, and that's that most people, when they get the vaccination, they have to be off for 2 days to see what kind of reactions they have or to withstand the reaction, and then the next person, and these vaccines have to be administered within 4 days of the hospital receiving them. They're gonna be doing it in the back at the John Peters, and it's optional, obviously, for all of our first responders.
Now, on the two-step, that's the only one that's available to Nevada?
It's the only one that I'm aware of that is going to be available at this point. There's talk of one that is a single step, but it hasn't been on the table yet.
There's only two, that Muldrum or something, and then FISA is that, but there's only two that are approved right now that they're passing out to all the states, and that's the double.
They're
So-
all double?
Yeah, so far.
Okay, because the news gets pretty confusing on this, because on the news, they're saying one shot.
Well,
Depends
definitely,
on the vaccine, I guess.
yeah, definitely, in Lander County, it's gonna be the 2 shots.
And there's 2 days off after each of the shots.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And then the CDC came out with new guidelines last night on their recommendations. So they went from 14 days of quarantine for a close contact to 7, and 10 days for a positive, as opposed to 14. So they're slowly backing off the number of days for quarantine. And that's about all there is for COVID right now in the county. I know it's an ever-moving target. As far as our quick response machines, that's an ever-moving target as well. So I hate to keep telling you guys that we're possibly gonna get them, because that ball keeps getting kicked down the road.
Thanks, Bert. Consent agenda. All matters listed under consent agenda are considered routine and may be acted upon by the Board of County Commissioners with one action without extensive discussion. Any member of the board or any citizen may request that an item be taken from the consent agenda, discussed and acted upon separately during the meeting. Consent agenda materials are available at the Lander County Clerk's office for viewing, and copies are available for a nominal charge. Number one,
Hey,
approval
Arthur?
of the.
Art, would you open it up for public comment real quick?
Yeah, I'm sorry. We'll open it up for public comment on non-agendized items. Yeah, okay. Now we'll go on to the consent agenda. Number one.
Muted.
Approval of.
Unmuted.
December 3rd, 2020 agenda notice. Approval of May 7th, 2020 special budget workshop meeting minutes. Approval of May 14th, 2020 meeting minutes. Approval of July 23rd, 2020 meeting minutes. Approval of August 13th, 2020 meeting minutes. Approval of August 27th, 2020 meeting minutes. Approval of September 10th, 2020 meeting minutes. Approval of September 24th, 2020 meeting minutes. Approval of October 8th, 2020 meeting minutes. Approval of October 22nd, 2020 meeting minutes. Approval of November 12th, 2020 meeting minutes. Approval of November 16th, 2020 meeting minutes. And approval of payroll change requests. Patsy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that we approve number 1, which is the agenda notice. Number 11, approval of the November 22nd, 2020 meeting minutes. And number 12, approval of the November 16th, 2020 meeting minutes. I have not received any of the other meeting minutes, and there were no payroll change requests.
Okay. Patsy made them.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Brian votes aye. Okay. Commissioners, for possible action to approve or disapprove the payment of the bills. We have
Mr.
any checks we need to pull?
Yes, we do. There's 2 checks, actually, for the Point S, which we pull out for Brian, and that's 209-780, 209-852. And since we actually don't have a quorum without him, I ask that we take those 2 checks and pull them over to the next agenda, so those can be approved and are ratified. And I make a motion, we approve the balance of the bills.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, number 2, Commissioners, for possible action to approve, disapprove the appointment of 3 individuals to serve on the Austin Airport Advisory Board, which currently has 4 vacancies. New terms are from July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2022, and to consider all the following applicants to include Tom Anderson, Ray Williams, and Claudio Cardoza. Need a motion?
Now, Mr. Chairman, I have a question on this. First of all, when we lump it as 4 vacancies, it's really 3 board members and 1 alternate. Now, when Mr. Cardoza put his request in, he asked for alternate because we thought that's what was available. Even though the letter says alternate, legally, can we go ahead and put him on as a regular board member? Do we have to check with him first? How does that work, Ted?
Well, you should probably check with him and tell him that a board position is available and an alternate position, and what would be his preference. So what you could do is make a motion to approve him as both positions, depending on his discretion.
This is Austin. Tom is here.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I missed the
you can
last
ask him right
part.
now.
Yeah, I think
Which one?
He's saying that you can go ahead and approve him for either or, the alternate or the full position.
Tom is in Austin, so maybe he could speak.
If he wants to be.
Yes, I'll take the permanent position.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
The other 2 have served, and so they're asking for reappointment, actually. So I'll make a motion that we approve all 3 for the airport board positions in Austin: Tom Anderson, Ray Williams, and Claudio Cardoza.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you, gentlemen. For Commissioners, for possible action to approve, disapprove the appointment of 1 individual to serve on the Lander County Planning Commission, which currently has 3 vacancies. The new terms are from July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2024, and to consider all the following applicants to include. We have 1, Louis Lanny.
I move to approve Louis Lanny on the Lander County Planning Commission. Term is July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2024.
I'll second your motion.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you, Louis. For possible action to approve or disapprove the appointment of 1 individual to serve on the Lander County Advisory Board to manage wildlife, which currently has 2 vacancies. New term from July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2023, and to consider all of the following applicants to include. And we have Sean Mariluch applied for this position. I need a motion.
I make a motion that we accept Sean Mariluch to serve on the board.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you, Sean. JUB Engineering for possible action to approve, disapprove the FY 2021 FAA AIP grant application for the construct taxi lanes design only project for the Battle Mountain Airport for an FAA funding amount of $112,500 and a county match of $7,500. What you need to understand, folks, is that the federal government kicks in 94%, is it?
93.75%. David Meyer, JUB Engineers, for the record.
Okay, take it away, bud.
Yep. So you should have in your packets a similar drawing, but this is the existing apron with our expansion on the west side of Battle Mountain now. We'll be doing 3 taxi lanes. The first one, which is kind of driving this process, is a paved taxi lane up to the county hangars that were built, so that access to those is easier. And then just for the sake of adding a little more so we get better unit costs, we'll also build a taxi lane here that'll serve these hangars on this side. These are Rick Harless's hangars. And then taxi lane here to serve on this side. There actually is not a taxi lane here according to the master plan. It's too narrow right here. It doesn't meet FAA separation. So that's why it's not shown. I have had that conversation with Rick. He's aware of it. So that's pretty much the extent of the project. It will be designed this year as part of this design-only grant, and then constructed in 2022 as part of a separate grant, bid and constructed. That's
Thank you.
about the issue.
You have any questions, Patsy?
No, I don't, and I move that we approve the fiscal year 2021 FAA AIP grant application to construct the taxi lanes design-only project for Battle Mountain Airport. The FAA funding amount of $112,500 and Lander County match of $7,500.
Need a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Commissioner.
Number 6, Desmond Skeeth. For discussion of the Austin Building and Facilities Maintenance and Repair and Grounds Maintenance Agreement between Lander County and Desmond Skeeth, doing business as Desmond Skeeth Lawn and Parks between the dates of April 2018 and November 2020, with regard to overpayment by the county to Desmond Skeeth in the amount of $23,186.50 for possible action to either: 1, immediately terminate the contract with or without cause upon 30 days written notice pursuant to clause 9A of the contract and put the contract out to bid, or to negotiate with Desi Skeeth for the repayment of the overpayment to be taken down of his checks going forward, or to waive the overpayment amount in full or partially, or 4, to come up with a solution that is a combination of options 1, 2, and 3, or formulate a plan not contained herein.
So, going back on, and I know this is worded, it seems slightly harsh. Desi's done a great job for the county, and I'd like to point that out first. But going back through the contracts, he's actually been being paid like this since 2014. So I don't believe that I believe it was a misinterpretation of the contract, and I don't think that it was at fault of anybody in the staff of the county or Desi himself. And the recommendations that I would make to the commission is that we do the 30-day written notice to terminate the contract, and Desi and myself get together and rewrite 2 contracts that are solid number based, so there isn't the confusion that caused this, which is the 300 for different months and 200 for here, and we're combining 2 contracts. And the reason I'm proposing that is, most importantly, it's a ding that we get hit with on our audit for not bidding this. And it's over $50,000, so we should be putting this out to bid, these contracts, instead of just awarding. Whereas if we split these 2 contracts up, it falls under the $50,000 threshold, and we could just award them to Desi and be in compliance with our auditors. And it would also clear up the confusion that is here. I don't think that anything was done here that was malicious, and that the county should just waive that $23,000 that has the appearance of a faulted contract, because it has been paid for so many years. That's my recommendation.
So Desi didn't do anything wrong, and he didn't know that anything was amiss.
No, absolutely
So
not.
it's the county's responsibility to be correct in this situation, I believe.
Let me see if I can clarify some of this for you. I did a great deal of research, and I went back quite a bit, and I did have the opportunity to speak with Mr. Skeeth on this. Actually, he had so many different contracts. We have the cleaning and maintenance, and then we added the visitor center, and then we added the lawn, and then all kinds of things. And he has an individual contract for each one. So he tells me that a couple years ago, when he came up and sat down and went over everything with the DA and with Keith, that they finally put it in one contract, and that was kind of the key on it. Actually, according to him, the contract is correct, except, let me see if I can explain this. The first one, when you look at the first one, which is for maintenance and repair, it's $2,502 per month. That one we have no discrepancy whatsoever. Then the next one says that it will be for lawns, and it actually says $2,383, and then it says during the months of March through October, and an additional $300 for the snow. First of all, he tells me it wasn't $300, it was $300 per pay period. It was $600 per month. And when I look back, that is what we were paying. But the interesting thing is, when he gave us the contract, he gave us a full contract for the full year. He's only going to be there for March through October, but the amount of money he gave that he actually bid it for, and I think if I go, yeah, it comes out $28,596, I think, total for the full year. Then he asked, instead of being paid May through October and not having anything in the winter, could we please prorate that over the full year? So he was to be paid over the full year because that was his contract full amount. Now, it doesn't say anything about full amounts on here, but if you read it, the interpretation is that he will be paid for grounds maintenance services satisfactorily performed during the months of March through October, and an additional $300 per month for snow removal, and an additional, so like it doesn't stop. And it wasn't supposed to stop because the full amount that he gave us on a contract was divided by 12, and we pay him all year long. So if you look at that, we have not overpaid him, and we've been paying exactly right, and even the $300 we've been paying every 2 pay periods, like he said, I bid it for $600 a month. He said, there's no way that I can shovel all of those buildings. I mean, sometimes it's 5 and 6 times a day that he has to go over and have somebody shovel. He said, I wouldn't bid it for $300 a month. I bid it for $600, and that's exactly what we did. We've continued to pay the $283 bi-monthly and added the $300. So actually, the only one that was wrong was last month. And that's when we caught the mistake that we thought was a mistake and said, oh, and we took away that one full payment for the lawn because we interpreted it that he was only working the lawn 8 months, so we were going to pay him 8 months. But remember, he took the whole contract amount and divided it so he should be paid all 12 months. Now, we still have to do something with the contract, and I do recommend that you do sit down and talk with him because we do have to amend it. But the only thing that's wrong on it, according to Mr. Skeeth, is the $300 monthly that should have been $600 monthly or $300 every pay period. Interesting.
That is interesting. However, the interpretation of the contract by our legal is not how you interpreted it, or how Mr. Skeeth has interpreted it, or the language that is in it per se, that it would be divided amongst 12 months. It's an 8 month to a. Yes, now I understand, and that's the contractual language that I leave to our legal.
Yeah, and that's true, because if it would have been done that way, it wouldn't have said an additional $300 per month. It would have just been $300 per month for those 4 months. The word additional, but you're right, it's up to legal interpretation, and that was Desi's contract. He has the full amounts. He came in with the full amounts per year and asked to be paid over the 12, and this is the contract they came up with 4 years ago, at least. And he, like you said, he's been working for us for a long, long time. You know, we have no complaints whatsoever with what he does. He's on call. I mean, literally is. But whatever we have to do to make it right. So, with that, I don't, Michelle, is Desi there this morning? Does he have any comment?
Yes, he's here.
Any comment, Desi?
Kind of. I have documentation stating that the contract was started in 2002 for the same amount of money that I'm getting today. The only thing I would like to do is I would like to speak with county manager and the district attorney and sit down and discuss some of this stuff before I'm convicted. Is what I would like to do. Have a meeting in Belmont, ASAP, because this conversation is going around like wildfire. That I cheated the family out of $27,000. And it's not a very good thing to have on your reputation. So I'm going to go to Battle Mountain and meet with the district attorney and the county manager, whatever date they want me to go.
Okay, I think we got it, but we do have to get together with you, and so, we'll go ahead and take the action today and then let you, you come in and talk with our county manager and with our legal, and we'll get it all straightened out for you, Desi. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, with that, we do have to give notice, the 30-day notice. Is that correct? To break the contract?
Yes, so I believe that we should give the 30 days notice with the understanding that we're gonna renegotiate with Desi, even if the numbers stay the same, and come back with this clarified in the contract for everybody's understanding.
Okay, with that, they also made a notation of B and D being identical, which was the amount of $100 on a monthly basis for repair items. He pays for anything under 100 and anything over, and it's written identical twice, so we do need to clean up the contract, absolutely, it's needs some work. Okay, with that, I make a motion that we do the 30-day written notice pursuant to clause 9A of the contract, and that we renegotiate with Desi Skeeth and do 2 contracts to complete the contracts, I guess. What else do I need
I
on that?
think one would be building maintenance and one would be grounds and,
Okay, one would be, all right, I'll separate that. One would be building maintenance, and one would be grounds and snow removal.
I'll second that motion, Patsy.
Thank you.
We get a second? Yeah. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on
That,
to,
that contract that they're talking about, it's janitorial.
What?
Because I clean the courthouse, the firehouse, the town hall,
yes, that's the building
and the
maintenance side of
sheriff's
it.
office. Does it all come under maintenance? Or is
That
it
is,
janitorial?
that is my understanding, and that's part of what we will, when we sit down with legal and myself, that we'll get it all ironed out, so we have 2 separate contracts that are proper per building and grounds, and the other one, which would be snow removal and lawn care, I believe.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Desi, appreciate it.
okay. Number 7, Planning Department. For possible action to review the language contained in Lander County Code 17.58.020 permitted use and Lander County Master Plan 2010 Land Uses page 3-10, 3-11, and then to decide if clarification of the existing policy is needed and whether to move forward with code and master plan revisions. So who do we have? Anna, thank you. No?
So I will speak on behalf of this one. We put this on the agenda because we thought that it was important for the community to be aware of what is coming and part of why it's coming and how it got there. We have a hotel, I do believe. Do we have Kyla on the line?
Hotel or
Motel.
motel, there's a difference.
Motel.
It's a motel.
Motel, I do apologize, a motel that's coming in, where they had proposed to put a fuel station prior, and it caused a little, ruffle in the community. Per our master plan, the wording is open to interpretation, which legal has reviewed, and it fits. So if legal would like to clarify that for the commission and the community, I would appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, under the code, 17.58.020, permitted uses, C1 allows the building of a motel. It does not allow the building of a hotel, but a motel. And what's being proposed is a motel. So the question is, under the Lander County Master Plan, 2010, it says that if a 24-hour business should not encroach on a residential area. Now, I believe that the writers fully intended the word abut to be there, not encroach. But since the word encroach is there, that means it can abut a residential area, and that's why it's permissible as written for a contractor to construct a motel without a special use permit. All he needs to do is get a building permit. So the question before the commission, and it's a policy one, is do you want motels and 24-hour businesses to abut a residential area? Or do you want to keep the word encroach? Because if you leave the word encroach, it means it can abut, and you're going to have these motels right up against the residential area. Any questions?
I do. I'm not following you, Counselor. I'm sorry. The word encroach, you said, give that to me again. If we leave the word encroach in,
The master plan says encroach. That means it can't go onto the land.
but our ordinance does allow it with a buffer, right?
Well, the buffer is up to Anna and when they're given a building permit. But the question is, do you want to allow them to abut
So,
or not?
Patsy, I think to
It's a
answer your
policy
question,
decision.
I think to answer your question, in a special use permit, we can put certain stipulations on. However, if they're abiding by our code, we cannot put them stipulations on, is all we can do is issue them permit because they are abiding by our code.
And they are abiding by the code right now. It's just the master plan has the other word, which is confusing.
Right. So it's a prospective action. It's in the future. We've hired an outfit to go over the master plan and the codes with us. The question is in your mind, do you want these motels to be built right next to residential? Yes or no? That's the question.
Okay, so the Lander County Master Plan says, commercial and tourist commercial activity proposing 24-hour operations should not encroach upon established residential areas. And the only way to make that comply with our ordinance is just to take that wording out of the master plan.
No, it complies right now. But I don't think that was the intent of the writers. I believe that they didn't want it to abut. But if you make a determination, no, they were accurate, we don't want it to encroach, then you leave it like it is.
So,
Well, I guess because we've only got some main roads around here and we're small, you know, like Highway 80 is right here and Highway 376 and all of it, I'm going, I really don't want to stop our growth, but I don't want them in the middle of my residential area either. But if we can put up a buffer, and one does say buffer, I don't consider that encroaching, it's kind of next door. So I guess,
Right, it's a buddy. That's the difference between a butt and a croak.
yeah, a but, yeah, and I'm okay with that. I just
Okay.
don't want them in the middle of my residential area, that's all. And I want a good buffer up there, whether it's a park or, you know, a park and a huge fence or whatever, but I want it separated. So,
So is what we're asking for is just for you guys to make a determination moving forward. We can't change what is already in place right now and what is coming because they are following the rules as we have them written. But with us updating our master plan, we'd like to address as many of these type of situations now and put them in our new master plan to clarify these kind of things so we don't have any confusion with the planning and zoning or with our commission or the community or businesses that would like to come in.
well, I'm okay with the ordinance, so, if we need to make a motion that our master plan comply with the ordinance?
Well, I would definitely like to see it move forward for a review by the people that are in charge of the master plan now. And have you and Ted and the master plan people discuss this and make recommendations to come back so that we don't wind up in this situation again. So that we have a definite language approach to the situation so that there's no confusion. That's what I'd like to see.
I think it's a big decision too, and we can do it that way. We could just table this and let them work out the master plan. But because there's only 3 of us, I would also like to wait until we have 5 commissioners to really weigh in on this. I think it's important enough that we table it.
We'll only have
If you want to
4.
bring it back for just this
I
information.
agree with what Art had stated.
We'll only have 4. When JR comes on, he can't be involved in this. There'll only be 4 of us.
Okay.
So then we can get a 2-2.
Well, I do believe that JR could be involved. I don't believe that he could say anything on the property that is actually, that is going to be built on at this time. But this is going to be something moving forward with all properties that either abut or encroach on residential areas. So he could actually vote on this because it wouldn't be directly related to there would be no ties to that.
Oh, okay.
If that were true, most of us would be abstaining. I guess a master plan does affect us all somehow. Okay, all right, good. Then I recommend we table it.
We get a motion, or we're just gonna table it? Okay, we'll table it. Okay, what do we got now? This is a record.
So, just to be clear,
Are you guys giving me direction to reach out to, with legal, reach out to the people that are putting our master plan together and kind of gather a bunch of information, then bring this back to you when we have a full board?
So that we don't, I don't like gray areas. I like things in black and white when it comes to these kinds of issues. I think everybody'd be comfortable with black and white.
Perfect.
Okay, number 8, correspondence, reports, future agenda items. Excuse me, correspondence, reports, and future agenda items. I talked to Bert, I've contacted Paul Tamara about, possible starting a bird program to, develop a better bird base for Lander County. Brian Sparks brought up his concern last meeting. I have concern about the amount of game in the area. So I'd like to ask that Bert get in touch with Paul Tamara and discuss it. And when Bert has some information to come back and check on cost and other issues that are related to it. That's the only thing I have concern about.
Have we heard how the lawsuit with EV is going? Is there any update on that?
Sorry, Brian, I didn't catch the lawsuit with who?
With what EV's doing down there?
Oh, we have done a little bit of research on that. It sounds, I'll let legal respond to this because it sounds like maybe they're in the wrong court or something, filed like that, so I'll let legal.
Well, they filed an action against the governor in Ely, and they filed it in Ely, in the district court there. And these matters are supposed to be filed in Carson City. So I believe that there'll be a change of venue to Carson City, and then it'll be taking place. And what it is the private business owner is the injured party. It's not the county of Ely or the city of Ely or the town of Ely. It's a private business owner.
Thank you.
And furthermore, it's what we discussed in litigation when we retained the services of Mr. Hardy, and we were contemplating a similar action. And you can't have an action until you have a victim.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ted. Public comment for non-agendized items. You have 3 minutes if you would like to get up and talk about anything that wasn't on the agenda. No public comment? Need a motion?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
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 49 minutes and 22 seconds.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.